hello, and welcome to the true episode 1 of the podcast. I made an episode 0 a few weeks back, and then I went on tour. My schedule got crazy, and I kind of was disillusioned a little bit with streaming, all that kind of stuff. Now I'm refreshed, took a little break after the tour. The tour went really well, and here we are. Truly the episode 1 of the podcast. This will be the format going forward. So, what will we do? We will start with kind of notes about what's been going on in my life, how things have been. I was very, very grateful to be invited to go on an acoustic tour with the band Hello Goodbye, who's headed by Forrest Klein, and he was really, really sweet. So I followed him. I played with him in Cleveland, and then I played in Boston, New York, and Philly. I ended up not playing in Boston, sadly enough, because I got stuck in one of the craziest traffic jams of my life. But, it was a good and great time overall. Just a fucking blast. A blast. Like, I couldn't, it was the first time playing, like, these Spilly Cave tunes out live, out in the ether outside of Pennsylvania, and it was just such a fun time. So, kind of basically, we started off, he found me on Instagram through making my videos and invited me along, and, I played half an hour sets acoustically, and it was blast. My God. So first off, we started off in New York. Easy drive there. Got to see my good buddy, Wolfgang Hunter, who's a hilarious comedian, if you've never heard of him. We met on TikTok, ended up becoming friends in real life, all that good stuff. He's fucking hilarious. If you do not follow him already, you should go check out his clips. And if you like stand-up, he's fucking damn good at what he does. And he's funny as hell. So I played the show. We played at the City Winery out in New York City, which is super fun. Midtown, right on the water, right on the river. That beautiful, pristine, delicious river water. And I always make sure to bathe in before every show I play in New York. It's good. It's good like that. But, so we went there, played at City Winery, packed show. Just a fucking great time. They had great wine. City Winery treated us so well. I always appreciate that, having worked in the service industry, they were very kind. And so after I played that show, my buddy Wolfgang so he had to bartend that night. And so I went up to this bar up on the Upper West Side. And I used to live in New York, so I know it really well. And I was driving, so I couldn't really drink. I had one drink at the bar and ended up getting a rush. And so I ended up just sitting at the bar playing online poker till about 2 a.m, which is how it goes sometimes, just wait for him to get off. But it was a good time. He gave me a pint of Guinness and a nice little glass of whiskey to try, sip on some whiskey there. But after that, rolled back, woke up the next day. And honestly, so there's this... there's this restaurant that I really love in the West Village. It used to be in the East Village. Now it's in the West Village, called Organic Grill, run by Vlad. Just one of the sweetest guys in the whole world. But anyways, I've been a fan of the place because me and Ren, we were in New York going to see Zach Fox back in February. And she found this place, called Organic Grill. It's about a block away from the location of our hotel. And I've lived in New York for about a year and a half, and so I knew the East Village really well too, because that's where my college was. I went to the New School. And but I never even heard of this place. And so we stop in. Vlad is so nice, just so confident about his meal. It's a vegan restaurant, and just some of the best food I ever had. And it's not a vegan restaurant because I love healthy food. Healthy food's good. It's great for you, right? But it's not a vegan restaurant like you're thinking of. It's like delicious burgers and fried chicken and cheesesteaks and all that good stuff. And I'll never forget, I think there was a food critic actually in. It's what she seemed like. But she sat down and Vlad walked up. Vlad's this Russian guy. Russian owners own the place, I think, for 18 years. It's been open. Owns it with his wife. They run a fucking hell of a ship over there. And anyways, so the lady, Vlad comes up and lady asks, "So what's good?" And I loved, it was one of my favorite things I've ever heard. It was so New York too. Vlad just goes, "Everything is good. Order what you like." And I'm like, fuck yeah, man. You tell her, dude. He's so confident in his cuisine because he's such an expert at what he does and such an amazing chef that, he's just, and the same thing happened. Ren, asked for ketchup for her fries, but he's like, "What are you using the ketchup for?" And it's like he knows. He's a master at what he does. He cares about not only does he care about the cuisine he makes and also the food that's served at his restaurant, but also the customer experience. And he wants to make sure you're getting the absolute best. So anyways, this is crazy. He ends up finding me on TikTok, funnily enough, months later after, I was nothing on TikTok at this point. I'd probably only about 500 followers or something like that. Now I'm like, found me much later, but he DM'd me and was like, hey, I love your music. If you ever want to come into the city, have a meal on me. And I'd love to make you a meal. And I'm like, dude, that is the sweetest thing ever. This guy's such a good guy. I had such a blast. So anyways, me and Wolfgang the next day roll up there before I left for Boston. And Vlad, we both got chicken and waffles just because, it was a late night the night before. We're like, dude, I just need some, and it was this amazing, fried mushroom for the chicken. It just tasted incredible. I got the buffalo style chicken. He got a sweet and sour. We took some bites of each, and it was just amazing. And just Vlad treated me to lunch, and it was just, I got to talk to him a little bit. He has musicians that come in there all the time. He's a big supporter of the arts. He just runs a great restaurant, and if you live in New York City, you should go to the Organic Grill. It's now on the West Village. It's right next to Blue Note, if you know where that is. The jazz club right in the West Village. Classic spot. He's got a great location. They moved. It's a bigger spot now. The decorum is wonderful in there. Vlad is super sweet. It's just a great restaurant. So that was my time in New York. I had a fucking blast. Now, I left that day thinking within 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours, I would be in Boston. Little did I know. It would turn into one of the grandest escapades of my life of doing nothing, of just sitting in traffic. That's basically what ended up happening. I made it an hour outside of New York to this, on the highway in Connecticut. There's that one road that you can take up to Boston. We're gearing up for day 2 of the tour, and I hit this traffic. And I'm like, and now here's just do a little set dressing real quick. So I have to be in Boston for sound check at 5 p.m. I leave New York at 1, thinking 4 hours is plenty of time. I don't play till 8 anyways. My sound check when you're doing an acoustic show is very simple. It's literally plug in the acoustic guitar, make sure the levels of the acoustic versus your voice are good enough. Very simple. It doesn't take that long. It's not like a full band sound check. It takes about 10, 15 minutes. So I'm thinking, give myself 4 hours of wiggle room, get there by 5. Well, even if I got there, even if I hit crazy traffic and I'm an hour later, it's a 5-hour drive for some reason, God forbid, right? As I'm thinking at the time, then, oh, well, okay. Then I'll still have a quick sound check because I don't play till 8. So I get, about 2:30, I'm going down, up 91 rather, and I just see these lights, and I see 15 minutes of traffic on the little Apple Maps pop up. I'm like, oh, okay, 15 minutes. That's not too bad. That won't set me back. I got a lot of video game podcasts to listen to anyways that I've been saving up, as well as the new Adam Friedland show. So I'm thinking okay, this is gonna be fine. About a half an hour goes by, and I'm not moving at all, and I'm like, oof, this is not good. This is definitely not ideal, but I remain optimistic, right? I am a man of hope. I believe that, no, I've left it a good time. I did the right thing. We're going to make it. Hell yeah. No. Ends up 5 hours, end up passing. I'm just sitting in that car, and I'm listening to 2 Steely Dan records. Listen to a full episode of the Min-Max Show, a bunch of different gaming podcasts. And then it ends up 4 hours. Now it's, I finally get to the end of this traffic, right? Things start moving along after 4.5 hours. By hour 5, I'm moving past the fire trucks. And now this time I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? There's state police going by. There's multitudes of fire trucks, probably five different fire trucks. And I go by, and the policeman has a drone out. Now, this is my assumption on this. Now, there was 2 car crashes. From what I know, no one died. Now, they did crash. It was a gnarly crash. They crashed right through the sound barriers on the side of the highway. It looked like Battlefield Bad Company 2 levels of destruction on this volume on the side of the highway. I mean, it literally looked at that classic Frostbite engine crumpling, and then there's a car on the other side. And so I'm wondering, so I'm looking up later, trying to figure out what happened. And as far as I know, there were no fatalities. Thank fucking God. That's amazing to hear. As far as I know, no fatalities. Just now they were injured in critical condition from what I last heard, but I don't think anyone passed away, luckily. However, the strange thing that really kind of befuddled me was that these cops had their drones out, right? Had their drones out. And I'm thinking, this is what I think. I think police budget, we all know those budgets are fucking inflated as hell. They don't need all that money. I'm thinking that, that's James Jefferson, right, is telling the boss, yeah, there's a car crash. I think we got to get the drone out. We got to get because they have to, log probably, 20 hours with the drone to keep it in the fucking yearly budget. I have no clue. But I thought maybe they were just getting aerial footage. Maybe. Is that the police's job? I don't know. But luckily, I don't think anyone passed away. But it was horrific, and I was just happy to be safe, It's okay. Forrest of Hello Goodbye was very understanding. He's a class act. It was very cool and understood that, it wouldn't make sense. By the time I got out of the traffic, it was about 7. I was supposed to play at 8. I still had 2.5 hours to get to Boston. So I would have been, way past the set. So I ended up pulling off the highway. I walked into a gas station, because I had to pee, and then also I needed to fill up my car with the old gasoline. And as I'm walking out, dude, this guy hops out of his car, walks up to me, and goes, "Hey man, you like to party?" And it was one of those things where I was just sitting in traffic for 5.5 hours, and the only thing that I could even I wasn't even processing it. It was just this strange social interaction of one, I hadn't talked to anyone in 5 hours, and I'm just like, what the hell? My brain starts working. I was like, I don't know how to party. And I just got in my car and drove away. I said, I don't know how to party. And the guy just looked at me and walked back. I just got in my car. He got in his car. I'm sure he was trying to sell me some sweet white powder of some variety that would probably fucking kill me in my sleep. Yeah, so that's how that happened. That's how that went. And I drove away. I drove to a KFC. I got some fried chicken, and I sat sadly in my car figuring out whether, one, I should drive back to New York, which I'm only an hour and a half away from New York, or I should drive home, which was about 5 hours home. I was like, part of me was like, well, my friends in New York were busy, but I could crash at their place, which would have been sick. But still, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to drive home. So I drove all the way home. I didn't get to see my friends in Boston, which I was bummed about. There was a band called Snow House that I hosted when they were on tour in my city about 4 years ago. And I have been keeping up with them on the internet, never got to hang out with them again other than that time. But we had a great night. That one night we hang out, drank a bunch of PBRs, fucking shot the shit. And now I was going to hang out with them in Boston. And they were very, very thankful. I was very thankful that they opened up their home to me. But oh well. It was, Daisy Bones and Snow House. They were touring together. But anyways, so I get back home after 5 hours, basically in a haze. It was at that point of the night, I'm rolling in at 1 a.m., just having driven for 12, 13 hours that day. I'm just get me in my bed. And I literally just passed out on my couch watching Seinfeld. And that's what I do. I watch Seinfeld every night. I literally fall asleep to Seinfeld every night. It is my ultimate show. It is ingrained, right, I think, in my DNA right now. I would be surprised if my children didn't, come out of the womb with hair everywhere except the top of their head balding like George Costanza. But anyways, so the next day, went and played the show in Philly. It was a great time. Now, Philly's my spot, I'm from Pennsylvania native. I'm not from Philly, never lived in Philly. But a lot of my friends do, especially a lot of my hometown friends moved to Philly. So one of my best friends, probably my best friend in the whole fucking world, great fucking guy, AJ, Sugar he's a bassist, guitarist, instrumentalist, producer. He just got back from a European tour with Orion's Son, fucking kicking ass in the music game. But so anyways, I played the City Winery in Philly as well. Then drove on over and just hung out. He had just gotten back from Europe the day before, so we caught up, shot the shit, had a couple drinks, ate some food, bada bing, bada boom, went to bed, woke up the next day. And off we go, back home. So that's been my life, I played a show in Lancaster with the full Spilly Cave band, which is amazing. I am putting together a show right now in L.A., which is going to be super fucking fun if you're in the L.A. area. It's looking like, I don't want to be too hasty with things, but we do have one date locked down. It's looking like we're going to be playing December 6th at El Cid, which is going to be sick. And yeah, as far as that goes, that's what's going on with me. I've been I finished the album. I'm waiting for to hear I'm publishing with that. If that doesn't go through, I will release it as soon as possible. It's done, sitting on my hard drive. Sitting on multiple hard drives because I'm terrified of losing shit. So that's kind of musically what's been going on with me. I kind of hit not a rut per se, but sort of being a full-time video creator is a strange thing because there was a big part of me that was kind of just trying to figure out what the next step of the type of videos I want to make are, because that's the thing. Like, you don't just make the same stuff every day, and a lot of what I do kind of relies on this very swift creative spirit. And so for me, but I also like to, for example, like last fall, I took a step back and then got really into like MF Doom style sampling and made Wonder State. And then in the winter, I got really into like N64 style soundtracks, and then when everything blew up was like in April is when shit started going really viral, and that kind of thing. And so ever since then, this summer I kind of was doing the same kind of content, but kind of wanted to take a step back and kind of I think it's always good because I don't want to burn out. One, I want to love what I do, and because I'm very lucky to get to play music at all. And number two, I want to make sure I'm not stagnating. I want to make sure I'm making cool new stuff that people really like and is valuable to them. So that's that. That's the life stuff. That's the music stuff. Besides that, I'm pretty boring. I mean, I don't do this just full time. I do music full time, but I also work a part time job. The Spotify numbers are good. I've been getting doing well with that. But I also clean trash cans, and that's been going well too. I do that I don't do it a lot. I do it like 15 hours a week. But that's great too. It's the thing is anything. I've always just felt that I'm not destined. Well, I don't believe in destiny bullshit. I can't wax poetic this stuff. Dude, the moment I start trying to be like inherently like that kind of like literary sincerity, I'm just like, yeah, fucking bullshit. I think it's like my Central Pennsylvania comes out like, no, fuck that shit. But no, it's not destiny. I hate the word destiny. It's I feel for my own personality type that I can't be sitting down working at a desk all day doing things I don't like to do, because when you're a video creator, it turns out most of your life is editing at a desk. But I enjoy it. It's fun. Other than that, though, but if any other job I don't like, I'd prefer to be up and moving. So that's been fun, just cleaning trash cans, that kind of stuff. But anyways, let's go on to video games. Video games. The next second section, that's all we talk about. Music for the first half, video games for the back half. Talk a little bit. How about what I've been playing? It's been a little bit, so I've gotten a lot of stuff down the tube. Okay, so I'm gonna go from what I started off playing back right when after episode 0 ended to what I've been doing now. So I'm just kind of giving my thoughts on all these games. Okay, so first off, played this roguelike Curse to Golf. Okay, this is an indie game. If you've ever played any kind of 2D golf game, or like Worms, those games, think of it that way. You can choose your different clubs. I don't know the differences. There's the iron. I know one's iron, one's the driver, one's the wedge, I think, something like that. But it's fun. It's a roguelike. So, for example, you are playing at this grand finals. You're about to be one of the best golfers in the world. You end up dying. You're sent to hell or the golfing afterlife, and you basically have to golf your way to heaven and back to life. And it's a randomized amount of stages, kind of every time that you play, like a roguelike. Every time you fail, you have to go back to the beginning, go through all of it again, that kind of thing. If you're familiar with roguelikes, it's no different there. Now, the dynamic nature of roguelikes is my favorite thing. I think the pinnacle of roguelikes right now, obviously, is Hades. Dead Cells and Hades are I think the two best, because there's this dynamic nature of gameplay where every run feels fresh somehow, right? It's through this wonderful combination of mathematics plus, kind of variations in art design and then also just design in the gameplay and the upgrades that allows this beautiful synthesis that every run, it doesn't matter that you're starting from the beginning, you're excited to keep on going. I didn't feel that per se with Curse to Golf. For me, I felt that each run, and I did beat it to completion, finished the game, rolled credits, all that good stuff. I felt that as much as I was having fun with the regular gameplay, the run part of it, the roguelike part was the weakest part of the game. Personally, I felt that, the game would have been served better if they had more intricate kind of, handmade levels. That's kind of how I felt. Because, and I know they had like elements that were handmade, of course, and they run it through some kind of algorithm that randomizes that kind of stuff. And the moment-to-moment gameplay was really fun. By the end of the game, you get some crazy fun levels that are just madness, and also you have like different cards that you can use that are like, that are power-ups, right? And then you run out of those, you have to buy more of those. That's kind of how like the currency goes. You're building up currency, you're buying cards that are power-ups, bada bing, bada boom, as you go on. And so that's, with Curse to Golf, what you run into, though, is that each run, you don't have something new to work on, right? There isn't this, like, for example, every time I failed at a level, it didn't feel like, okay, it's time for me to get better at going back from the beginning. It really just felt like I need a new shot at that level. Because with something like Hades, right, when you're going back to the beginning, it doesn't feel like, I could just need a new shot at Elysium, right? Fighting Theseus in the Bull. Well, it feels like, okay, now I'm getting this new story stuff. Well, let's try out this new weapon. Well, I have to level up this weapon. So it makes sense. It makes you excited to go through the whole thing again. Whereas Curse to Golf, I think my final run ended up being like 2 hours. So that's like you having to sit down. Now, obviously, you can do, pause it, turn off the console, come back to it. But that was 2 hours, like, to do a whole run. So you don't have this kind of pick up and play nature that I think roguelikes work so well with. That's why Dead Cells works so well, too. Now, I rolled credits just because the gameplay was so much fun. And that is something that, like, the moment-to-moment golfing felt awesome. It was sick. But I think the biggest problem was, just as a roguelike, it didn't work for me. If I were to give it some kind of number rating, I'm not really into, like, numerical ratings. But I think I would like to change the way numerical ratings are done, if I have any kind of influence on the game industry, where a 10 is kind of out of the ordinary, and 9s are out of the... I feel 8s and 9s are thrown around like fucking... McDonald's and Burger Kings. So for me, like, I would give, like, Curse to Golf, like, a 6.5. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. That's a good score to me, right? 6.5. That's fine, right? There were things that didn't work in the design. There were things that did work. But Curse to Golf, I would recommend it if you like golf games. If you like golfing, you'll work yourself through it. You'll have fun. The roguelike elements won't get too frustrating. If you more like roguelikes, I would not suggest this game, because I think that's where it does fail. But as a golf game, it's fucking really fun. Now, I will say there was a lot of story stuff that I just skipped past. I didn't connect with me. I don't know why, but it didn't. But anyways, moving on to Rollerdrome. Rollerdrome is a third-person kind of Tony Hawk mixed with Doom 2016 style game. It's amazing. It's not super long. The challenges aren't too difficult. I found, now I am someone who, I play a lot of shooters. During the pandemic, I literally went so hard at Call of Duty. The whole goal was to make top 5% on the leaderboards in the world, and we did it as a squad. So I am someone, from a finger dexterity standpoint, shooters, I am just, I don't have a problem with them. I can see this game because the controls are very convoluted. I can see them being very frustrating to certain people, especially if this is not the type of game you're familiar with or the type of game that you like to play a lot. For me, it felt great. I felt like the kind of the difficulty curve and scale while you're playing the game was perfect. There's, I believe, 5 different, there's 5 different categories of levels, then you have subcategories that are individual levels in between those. So, you'll have like stage 1, and then there's like 4 levels in that. And then you also have, like, the way you unlock new levels is by completing individual challenges within those levels. So one of them might be, for example, so you have like dual pistol. You start out with just dual pistols, Lara Croft style, and you're on roller skates, and basically the way you reload is by doing tricks, and it's a great system. It works. It is so airtight. It is as much fun, if not more, than Tony Hawk, because you're also doing slow-mo and shooting people. And it's cool because there's this nice push and pull of resource management with your bullets, having to do tricks, and then also certain enemies having weaknesses to certain weapons, right? So over the course of the game, you unlock dual pistols, a shotgun, a grenade launcher, this kind of railgun style thing. And that's it. Yeah, there's just 4. But they all serve a very specific purpose, right? So, for example, there's this one type of enemy, right? There's this big dude with rocket cannons on his shoulder and like a big rocket gun. And if you shoot him and go out of slow-mo, he pulls up a shield. So to kill him, you have to do enough damage while you're in slow-mo before his shield pulls up, or you're just going to be losing time. So that's one where like you want to get a perfect dodge from a sniper. So every time there's snipers that are shooting at you, if you dodge at the perfect time, well, you do extra damage while you are in slow-mo. So if you can level, it's very fun the way this goes about. I mean, it was just a blast to play. So for example, so you're grinding, right? Okay, so you're getting points. You're reloading while you're grinding. Then a sniper goes on you. Well, you're setting up that sniper, so you're going towards the rocket guy. So then you dodge right before the sniper hits you. Now you're doing extra damage, and then you can kill the rocket man before your slow-mo runs out and his shields go up. And so it's like that kind of chess style gameplay within this very fast-paced environment. And there's a lot of great mobility too, from just pure grinding plus wall running, that kind of thing. The last boss, I would have liked it to be a little harder. I beat it my first try. But also there is a kind of, I forget what it's called, Out for Blood mode, I'm pretty sure. There's a second mode you unlock after you beat the game that is super tough, and I'm having a blast with that. I rolled credits on the first game, did all the challenges on the whole Out for Blood mode. I have not beat that yet. I'm stuck at a level, and that's a good time. So that's Rollerdrome. If you like Tony Hawk, if you like Doom, if you like shooters, plus if you like Titanfall, if you like mobility shooters, if you like Jet Set Radio, and you like guns, that's your kind of game. So I would highly recommend Rollerdrome. It was a really good time, and I'm really happy I got to play it. Now, the next game I played was Tinykin. This came out of nowhere for me. I literally was scrolling Twitter one day, and like all of a sudden everyone was talking about Tinykin and how it's basically like Pikmin and Mario had a love child. And I'm like, what? This sounds awesome. Let's check this out. And so I got it, downloaded the bad boy, and started playing it, and just fell in love immediately. It has this very cool art style. So first off, you are this outer space human that comes back to Earth, but you are shrunken down, right? Everyone is shrunken down for some reason. We don't know why. So you're in this like old house, and you're trying to find this guy that can, you're trying to find parts to rebuild your spaceship to get off the planet. But anyways, so you're in this like big house. It's just like basically think Toy Story, right? You're like the size of a little toy, and you're walking around this house, and there's all these like little creatures and bugs that you're talking to, and you have these Tinykin that help you do puzzle solving and exploration through this house. And every kind of different room of the house is a different level, and it's very much a collect-a-thon platformer mixed with a puzzle game. Very simple puzzles, they're nothing too crazy. And then also this like amazing exploration, like so many nooks and crannies, right? Like if there is a nook or a cranny that needs nooking or crannying, and you'll like think something like, oh, maybe some kind of secret will be behind here. Yeah, there's going to be a secret behind there. Like you bet your fucking ass there will be. It's so much fun. And it's pretty cool. Like, so all the characters are like 2D and animated like a cartoon, but then the world is 3D. It just has a very pleasant art style. From a color palette standpoint, very bright, lush colors, lots of deep reds and blues and orange hues that are very pleasing, and just the music, the soundtrack is incredible, which is essential for a platformer, right? I mean, it's of more than any other genre. It's like platformers and JRPGs. You gotta have a banging exploration soundtrack, and so it's really fun. So you also have this like Pikmin style gameplay of like you're gathering more and more Tinykin, different types of Tinykin, different colors of Tinykin serve different purposes. So you have some that can like build big ladders, or ones build bridges, by stacking up on top of each other. So it's just really fun. There's no combat, which I love, which is funny just talking about Rollerdrome, how much I love combat-based games. But when it comes to platformers, I think like a lot of platformers feel the need to, kind of add some kind of combat system, when I actually think just make the platforming and the puzzles fun, right? I like jumping around. Let me explore, and the exploration's amazing. There's so many moments where you walk into a room, you see some high shelf, and you're like, ooh, I can get up there somehow. I don't know how yet. And the way they do the different levels is really interesting, too. It's not just because the bugs have, like, taken over this house. There's lots of different factions and kind of have their own flair of how they've, like, this post-apocalypse of they've made their own little cities in this house. And it's really fun. And also the mission objectives are cool because they're not kind of arbitrary collect-a-thons, although you can collect these little things, I forget what they're called. You can collect these things and get upgrades to your flight, your gliding. It's the actual mission objectives are fun because they have like to do with certain things within the house. that, like, for example, one mission you're doing is that you have to figure out a way to get this CD into a CD player, right? And the CD is like huge to you, and so there's a bunch of different little tasks you have to do to like open up space and get the bugs so it'll carry it through, and the Tinykin have to build bridges and that kind of stuff. So it's a really, really fun game. I rolled credits on that. Blast, fucking great game, super fun. I highly recommend Tinykin. It might be one of my games of the year. I mean, my game of the year right now is obviously Elden Ring, just because it's so much fucking fun. And I put like 100 hours into that game. And Elden Ring is just like, it's everything I've wanted from a Souls game and an open world RPG. So Elden Ring's kind of like slotted in at number 1. But I will say that Tinykin is, let me look at my list of games I've played. I always keep like a little spreadsheet of games, because, you know, as far as like what my top games are right now, you know, of course I think that Elden Ring has to be number 1, but there's some other stuff like that I've had a lot of a really good time with, that I think could be in the running for, like, the top 3 is going to be very difficult. And there's a lot of indies too. Like, I had a blast with Call of the Lamb, which I beat. Call of the Lamb, I had more fun in the middle when I was like building up the cult than the actual ending. I thought the last boss, the combat just wasn't the strongest in that, but the game had so much charm and I had so much fun that it's got to be up there. DNF Duel, I'm a huge fighting game fan. Here's the thing, I had a really fun month with that, and now I'm back to Guilty Gear Strive, you know. and season 2's coming with Guilty Gear Strive. Bridget's so much fun, she's an amazing character. So that's been fun. So Guilty Gear Strive could still be one of the games of the year for her, even though it came out last year. But I think Tinykin's probably going to be number 2. Now, the last thing I played was the Modern Warfare 2 beta, which was so... I'm so thankful this was good, because, you know, okay, here's the thing. Modern Warfare, you know, Call of Duty, it's McDonald's, but it's McDonald's for a reason. Those games, when they hit right, are so much fun. And such an adrenaline rush, and such like just pure adrenaline gameplay, in a way that I think just no one has nailed it yet. That when they do it right, it's really fun. Now, I didn't play last year's Vanguard, had no interest in it, and I was very disappointed about Battlefield 2042 as well, which I was bummed out about. So, but the thing is, Modern Warfare 2019 was a really fantastic game. There were some map design problems, but I think overall, those were a little bit overblown. The first actual moment-to-moment gameplay. And the thing I think COD has always needed, right, is there doesn't need to be any kind of evolution on the base gameplay, but I do think what would be interesting is adding more systems, broadening the systemic gameplay, because I really think the ultimate game could be something like a Battlefield with the kind of frenetic and really just punchy feeling weaponry and movement of Call of Duty. So in their ground war mode that was activated a few days into the beta, you kind of get the first taste of like what Call of Duty could become, because I think that franchise has been kind of stagnating in a way of like, yeah, what is this going to be? Like, is it just going to be bleeding? Like, is it still going to be like selling number 1 for the next 5 years, then bleed out a long, slow death while other games take over it, you know, like things like Fortnite and anything new that's coming out? Or is it going to find a way to evolve and capture that, not the same magic, but because the magic is in some kind of new evolution of a tried and true formula. And I think with this new ground war mode, I saw a glimpse of what the future could be, and it got me really excited, because you're seeing things the way they've implemented the tanks. There's a very cool thing that made me giddy, which I don't know why, just because I was shocked how excited it made me. Because, so for example, there's helicopters you can drive around in ground war that kind of act like mobile spawn beacons, which is pretty funny. You have someone on your team kind of just fly around the helicopter to where, like, what command post you want to capture. But the cool thing is, you don't have to choose a seat in the helicopter. You can just, like, stand in it and walk around freely and use it as, like, a sniper's nest, which is sick. Like, and it has that, like, kind of Battlefield feel where, like, if you're driving a helicopter by yourself, you can get out and it'll just hover, and so you can like go over a place, just get out of the helicopter, then lean out and just snipe out of the helicopter, which is super fun. And the fact that you can walk around inside it just adds this kind of next level of immersion, which I think it was such a silly, like, arbitrary thing, but actually added so much to the experience. Because it really felt like when you jumped out of the helicopter, it didn't feel like you just pressed a button and now you're falling. It literally it's cool. There's this whole animation you do that you can see other people do when they jump out. They do this like free fall. It just looks sick. It looks sick. It's so much fun. The gunplay feels amazing as always. They kind of can't go wrong with that. That just feels good. They've slowed down the movement a little bit. Well, actually, they haven't even slowed it down. They've just removed some exploits. Like the tactical sprint feels about the same as Modern Warfare. However, now there's a little bit more inertia to the actions you take. So, for example, if you do the dolphin dives back, but if you do a slide, they remove the slide cancel. If you're sliding, because I think what they want to do is they want to make these movement abilities something you commit to, which from a design standpoint makes a lot of sense. I think it would work out really well in Warzone as well, because it's less about using slide canceling as this way to just unrealistically out-juke the other opponent, but rather is when you slide, when you dolphin dive, these are deliberate actions you take that have a risk and a reward. For example, if you're running from fire, especially in Warzone, right? I'm seeing you're running, there's a rock. You can dolphin dive. That's going to limit the it's going to make it you harder to shoot. But you're going to have to commit. There better not be someone behind that rock, because you're going to be a little bit immobilized for a brief half a second afterwards. So it's adding more risk and reward, and just making the game a little bit more tactical. And the thing is, you don't want Call of Duty to be slow. The genius of that design is, and people rag on it, but the reason it's so popular is there's something special to it. It's not simply predatory. There's a genius to the way it plays, because it's so tight and it's so visceral, and the guns feel so good that kind of I feel, especially Cold War. I didn't play Vanguard because I had no interest, but Cold War was just trying to add so much inertia. All that lack of inertia, just this frantic ADHD craziness, right? That was more about just how much you could slide cancel and move around rather than placement and where you should be. And so the thing that's fun about Call of Duty is if you're the best shot, you're probably going to win anyways, but it's adding that extra level of a little bit of tactics, a little bit of and it's more of just a kind of a subliminal kind of I got to worry about where I am. Let's see how this corner is, let's be careful a little bit. It just adds a little more stakes to the gameplay in a way that I really, really enjoy and appreciate. So, that's it. That's the show. We'll be back next week, okay? We will be, definitely, back next week. I'll be back home for a while. I know there was a big delay on this episode. I apologize. Life got crazy. Making content started feeling kind of weird, and I just needed to take a little bit step back. Things were ramping up in a big way that I wasn't totally comfortable with yet, so I'm sorry about that. But I'm here. Thank you for watching, listening, wherever you're listening to this. You can find me at Spilly Cave anywhere, okay? And also, if you would like to be on the show, if you know someone, an artist or something, that you would like to be interviewed or be on the show, let me know. DM me, okay? So I hope everyone has a great time. Thanks for tuning in. Also, I saw you in chat, Alakajam. Hey, man, I appreciate you following. It's been a good time. We'll be doing more regular streams coming up. Have a great day.